Graduation day arrived with all the ceremony and tradition the Academy could provide. The Grand Hall was decorated with banners from every member species of the Galactic Council. Families filled the viewing galleries, proud parents watching their children become officers. Hana had no family there. Captain Thoth sent a message saying he was proud of her, but his ship was too far away to make the journey. She read his message 3 times, memorizing the words. She stood in formation with her fellow graduates. Nari was to her left, her leg fully healed. Jin and Sung were nearby. Even Wu gave her a respectful nod. They had started as classmates. Now they were something more. Siblings in arms, but Hana could feel the tension in the room. Council representatives sat in the front row. Security personnel stood at every entrance. This was not just a graduation. This was a judgment. The ceremony proceeded normally at first. Names were called. Cadets received their commissions. Families cheered. It was joyful and loud and exactly as it should be. Then High Counselor Ven stood to speak. He was a Rathori, tall and thin with purple skin and large eyes that never seemed to blink. His species was known for wisdom and careful deliberation. When a Rathori spoke, the galaxy listened. Today we celebrate excellence, Ven began, his voice carrying through the hall. We honor those who have proven themselves worthy of defending our civilization. 200 cadets entered this academy, 187 graduate today. Each has shown courage, skill, and dedication. He paused, his eyes scanning the assembled graduates. But one name requires special attention. The hall went silent. Everyone knew who he meant. Cadet Hana Kim. Step forward, Hana's heart hammered in her chest. This was it. The moment everything would be decided. She walked to the center of the hall, her step steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. Ven looked at her the way a scientist might look at an interesting specimen. Your presence here has created considerable debate within the council. The archive identified you as human, a species that was declared extinct 200 years ago, a species that was deemed too dangerous to exist. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Many families did not know the full story. They knew something was strange about Hana, but not what. The law is clear, Ven continued. Humans must not be allowed to exist. The extermination order stands. And yet here you are. You have trained alongside our best. You have competed in our trials. You have proven yourself capable. He stepped closer to Hana. So I ask you now in front of everyone assembled here, what are you? Are you a threat? Are you a remnant of a dangerous species? Or are you simply a young woman who wants to serve? Hana felt every eye in the hall on her. She could lie. She could deny what she was. But Kale had taught her that truth carefully delivered was more powerful than any deception. High Counselor, she said, her voice steady, I am human. The archive was correct. I come from a world that tried to kill my species every single day. My ancestors evolved to survive the unsurvivable. They became strong because they had to. They became enduring because anything less meant death. She met Ven's eyes without flinching. But they also evolved to cooperate, to build communities, to care for those weaker than themselves. Humans raised children together, protected the elderly, helped the injured. We were not just predators. We were family. And what do you want from us? Ven asked. I want what I have always wanted. A place to belong, a purpose, a chance to prove that where I come from does not define what I can become. Hana gestured to her fellow graduates. These people are my family now. Nari, who taught me compassion. Jin, who taught me patience. Sung, who taught me to laugh. Wu, who taught me that people can change their minds. I want to protect them. All of them. Not because I am human, because I choose to be. And if we refuse? Ven's voice was cold. If we decide that one human is one too many? Hana had practiced this moment with Kale 100 times. She knew what to say. How to say it. This was the critical moment. Then you kill me here today in front of everyone. She kept her voice calm, conversational. You proved that the galaxy is not built on justice or merit, but on fear. Every species watching will know that if they are too successful, too strong, too different, they might be next. The Torvasi might wonder if their speed makes them dangerous. The Kraviks might worry that their strength is threatening, and the Council will have shown that fear is more important than fairness. It was a gamble, a calculated risk. Hana was betting that the Council cared more about its image than its fear of humans. Ven was silent for a long moment. Then he turned to address the hall. The human species was exterminated because we feared what they might become. We saw warriors who never quit, never surrendered, never accepted defeat. We saw a species that would fight to the last individual rather than submit. And we decided that such a species was too dangerous to share the galaxy with. He looked at Hana again. But perhaps we were wrong. Perhaps we confused strength with threat. Perhaps we forgot that the measure of a species is not what they can do, but what they choose to do. Hope flickered in Hana's chest. Was he actually considering it?
I have reviewed Cadet Kim's entire academy record, Ven continued.
She has been tested more thoroughly than any cadet in history. Physically, she is exceptional, but she has shown restraint. When she could dominate, she chose to compete fairly. When she could crush opponents, she chose to help them up. When she could abandon an injured classmate, she chose to carry her to safety. He paused. These are not the actions of a monster. These are the actions of an officer. Before Ven could continue, Commandant Kale stepped forward. High Counselor, may I speak? Ven nodded. Kale faced the assembled crowd, his forearms clasped in front of him. I fought against the humans during the war. My son Tay died in the final battle of Earth. For 20 years, I studied humanity, trying to understand the enemy that took my child from me. His voice was heavy with emotion. What I found was not monsters. I found people defending their homes, soldiers protecting their families, warriors who were terrified and desperate just like we were. Yes, they fought with ferocity. Yes, they refused to surrender. But they fought for the same reasons any of us would fight. For survival. For those they loved. For the right to exist. Kale looked at Hana. This cadet has shown more honor, more restraint, and more compassion than many soldiers I have served with across multiple species. If we judge her by her actions rather than her genetics, she has earned her place among us. One by one, Hana's classmates stood. Nari first, tears running down her blue face. Then Jin, then Sung, then Wu. Within moments, every graduate was standing. A silent show of solidarity. Ben watched this display with his unblinking eyes. Finally, he spoke. The council has deliberated on this matter extensively. We have reviewed the evidence. We have considered the risks. And we have reached a decision. He turned to Hana. The complete extermination order for the human species will remain in effect for now. We are not prepared to declare that humanity as a whole should be allowed to return. Hana felt her heart sink. However, Ven continued, we recognize that individuals should not be punished for the actions of their species. Cadet Hana Kim is hereby granted provisional status as the first human in galactic service in 200 years. She will be monitored. She will be tested. And if she proves us right to fear her kind, the consequences will be severe. He stepped closer, his voice dropping so only Hana could hear. Do not make us regret this decision, human. The fate of your entire species rests on your shoulders now. Every action you take will be judged. Every choice will be scrutinized. If you fail, you condemn humanity to permanent extinction. Do you understand? I understand, Hana said quietly. Ben stepped back and raised his voice to address the hall. Lieutenant Hana Kim, you are assigned to the Frontier Fleet effective immediately. You will serve on the Outer Rim, where threats to our civilization are most severe. You will protect those who cannot protect themselves. You will uphold the values of the galactic military, and you will prove, through your actions, whether humans deserve a second chance. He extended his hand in the traditional gesture of commission. Hana shook it, feeling the weight of what had just happened. She had won. She had survived. She was now an officer in the Galactic Fleet, but the real trial was just beginning. The ceremony concluded with the traditional oath, 200 voices speaking in unison, pledging to defend the galaxy and uphold justice. Hana spoke the words with everyone else, meaning every syllable. Afterward, Nari threw her arms around Hana, squeezing tight. You did it! You actually did it. We did it, Hana corrected. I could not have survived without you. Jin and Sung joined the hug, turning it into a pile of celebrating cadets. Even Wu put his hand on Hana's shoulder. I still do not understand humans, he said. But I respect you, Lieutenant Kim. Watch your back out there on the frontier. You too, Hana replied. Commandant Kyle approached as the crowd dispersed. A word, Lieutenant? They stepped aside, away from the celebrations. You took a tremendous risk with that speech, Kyle said. You told me truth was more powerful than deception. I did, and I was right. but understand what you have just done. You are now the representative of your entire species. The morning sun never rose on Station Primus. The massive space station floated in the darkness between stars, its lights always burning, its halls always busy. Hana Kim stood in formation with 200 other cadets, her hands clasped behind her back, her eyes forward. The Galactic Military Academy had trained warriors for 3,000 years. Today was the day that would decide her future. She looked different from most cadets around her. Her skin was a light tan color, her hair black and straight, cut short for regulation. She was smaller than many of the aliens standing near her. A Torvasi to her left stood almost 7 feet tall with blue skin and 3 fingers on each hand. A Velcrin behind her had gray scales and yellow eyes that could see in the dark. Hana looked plain next to them. Unremarkable, but she was here. Against all odds, she was here. Hana had no memory of her first 7 years of life. She remembered waking up in a damaged escape pod, alone and scared before the merchant ship found her. The Velcrin captain who rescued her, Captain Thos, said the pod had no identification markers, no records, no planet of origin, just a small human child who should not have existed. Thos raised her on his trading vessel. She learned to speak 6 different alien languages before she turned 10. She fixed engines, calculated jump coordinates, and negotiated with pirates who thought they could intimidate a child. They learned quickly that Hana Kim did not scare easily. When Thos suggested the academy, Hana thought it was a joke. Orphans with unknown origins did not get into the most prestigious military school in the galaxy. But Thos had connections, and the admissions board was curious. They accepted her as a ward of the Galactic Council. On her file, under species classification, they wrote, Humanoid Variant Type K. Nobody knew what she really was. Not even Hana. Her first year at the academy was hard. The other cadets had families, homeworlds, histories. Hana had questions with no answers. But she worked harder than anyone else. She trained when others slept. She studied when others relaxed. Slowly, her classmates began to respect her. Her roommate was a Torvasi named Nari. Nari was kind and patient, always willing to explain the social rules that Hana did not understand. They became friends quickly. Nari never asked about Hana's past, and Hana was grateful for that. But there were things Hana noticed. Strange things. When she got injured during combat training, she healed faster than Nari. Much faster. A cut that should have taken a week to heal disappeared in 3 days. Bruises faded overnight. The medical staff commented on it once, then seemed to forget about it. She needed less sleep than everyone else. 4 hours was enough. 5 felt like luxury. Her classmates needed 8 or 9 hours and still looked tired. Hana always woke up feeling ready. Her reflexes were sharper too. In hand-to-hand combat classes, she could see attacks coming before they landed. She could react faster than opponents who were bigger and stronger. Her instructor, a 4-armed Cytherian named Kale, watched her carefully during every session. Commandant Kale was a legend. Silver scales covered his body and his 4 arms moved with deadly precision. He had fought in the border wars 30 years ago and earned more medals than any soldier in Academy history. He rarely spoke during training, but his eyes missed nothing. Those eyes followed Hana more than any other cadet. She was undefeated in close-quarters combat, not because she was the strongest or the fastest. She won because she never stopped. When other cadets got tired, Hana pushed harder. When they wanted to quit, she wanted to continue. Something inside her did not understand the concept of giving up. At night, lying in her bunk, Hana wondered what she was. Nari snored softly in the bed across from her. The station hummed with the sound of life support systems, and Hana stared at the ceiling, asking questions she could not answer. The year moved fast. Classes, training, exams, drills. Hana excelled at everything physical and struggled with political theory. Nari was the opposite. They helped each other, studying late into the night, sharing ration bars and complaints about their instructors. Then came the announcement. The trial of origin was scheduled for the end of the year. Every cadet had to complete it. It was tradition, going back thousands of years. The Central Archive, a massive computer system that held genetic information on every known species in the galaxy, would scan each cadet. It would identify their homeworld, their genetic markers, their species-specific traits. Most cadets were excited. It was a celebration of identity, a connection to their ancestors. Special training protocols would unlock based on their species. It was an honor. Hana felt sick with worry. She had no homeworld. No records. No identity. What would the archive say about her? Would it find anything at all? Nari noticed her friend's concern. "Are you okay?" she asked one evening. Hana forced a smile. "Just nervous." "There is nothing to be nervous about," Nari said, her 3 fingers touching Hana's shoulder gently. "The archive will identify you. Then you will know where you came from. Is that not what you have always wanted?" It was. But Hana was afraid of the answer. The day of the trial arrived. The ceremony took place in the Grand Hall, a massive room with screens covering every wall. 200 cadets gathered, their families watching from the viewing galleries above. Hana had no family there. Captain Thos wanted to come, but he was too far away, hauling cargo near the rim. One by one, cadets stepped up to the interface platform. They placed their hand on a glowing panel. The archive scanned them. 30 seconds later, their homeworld appeared on every screen in the hall. Nari went before Hana. "Origin Torvus Prime," the archive announced. Nari smiled, and her family cheered from the gallery. Jin Park, a quiet cadet who sat behind Hana in tactical class, stepped up next. "Origin Nugorian." His parents clapped proudly. Sung Lee, a pilot trainee with quick hands and a quicker smile. "Origin Vex Colony 12. Then it was Hana's turn. She walked to the platform on legs that felt like stone. Every eye in the hall watched her. The unknown cadet, the mystery girl with no past. She placed her hand on the interface. The panel glowed blue beneath her palm. She felt a slight tingle as it scanned her genetic code. 30 seconds passed. The screen did not change. 1 minute. The murmuring started in the crowd. 2 minutes. Commandant Kael stepped forward, his face concerned. 5 minutes. The archive had never taken this long. Not once in 3,000 years. Hana stood frozen, her hand still on the panel. She could not move. The interface held her there, locked in place, scanning her again and again. 10 minutes. The hall was silent now. Every cadet, every instructor, every family member watched the screens, waiting. 15 minutes. Kyle ordered the other cadets to evacuate. Security teams moved in, surrounding the platform. Tech specialists rushed to their stations, trying to override the system manually. Nothing worked. 17 minutes after Hana touched the interface, every screen in the academy flashed bright red. Alarms screamed through the station, and the central archive spoke with a voice that no living being had ever heard before. "Warning. Genetic. Match confirmed. Species classification. Extinct. Origin world. Earth quarantine protocol initiated." The doors slammed shut. Emergency barriers dropped over every exit. Hana was trapped inside the Grand Hall with Commandant Kyle and 2 security guards. On the other side of the transparent barrier, Nari pressed her hands against the surface, her mouth moving. Shouting words Hana could not hear over the alarms. Hana stared at the screens. Every one of them displayed the same word, flashing red against black. Earth, Earth, Earth. She had a homeworld after all, and apparently she should not exist. The alarms hurt Hana's ears. Red lights flashed across the Grand Hall, painting everything in blood-colored shadows. She pulled her hand away from the interface, finally free of its grip. Her palm felt hot where it had touched the panel. Commandant Kale stood perfectly still, his forearms hanging at his sides. His silver scales had turned pale, almost white. Hana had never seen fear on his face before. She was seeing it now. "Commandant," she said. Her voice sounded small in the chaos. He did not answer. His eyes were locked on the screens, on that one word repeating over and over. Earth, Earth, Earth. The 2 security guards had their weapons drawn, but they were not pointing them at Hana. They were pointing them at the doors, as if expecting something terrible to break through. One of them was shaking. "What does this mean?" Hana asked, louder this time. "What is Earth?" Kale finally looked at her. His yellow eyes scanned her face like he was seeing her for the first time. "You truly do not know," he said quietly. "Know what?" Before he could answer, the archive's voice spoke again. It sounded wrong. Mechanical and cold, not like the warm computer voices Hana was used to hearing around the station. Genetic analysis, complete subject exhibits. Markers consistent with Earth prime origin. Death world classification. Category 12, Requesting Council Directive, Category 12. Hana had studied xenobiology. She knew the classification system for planets. It measured how dangerous a world was to life. Category 1 was peaceful, easy, safe. Category 10 was the highest rating in the textbooks. Worlds where almost everything could kill you. Earth was rated Category 12, 2 levels beyond what should be possible. Commandant Kale, Hana said, her voice steady despite the fear crawling up her spine. I need you to tell me what is happening now. Kale took a breath. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with something Hana could not identify. Grief, maybe, or regret. Earth was a planet in Sector 7, he said. It was home to a species called humans. 200 years ago, the Valak Dominion went to war with Earth and its colonies. The war lasted 3 years. When it ended, every human world was destroyed. Every colony, every ship, every station. The Galactic Council issued a complete extermination order. Hana felt the floor shift beneath her feet. Why? The official records are classified above my rank. But the order came from the highest levels of the Council. Earth and its people were declared too dangerous to exist. Too dangerous. Hana looked at her hands. They were small, unremarkable. I am dangerous? Your people fought like nothing the galaxy had ever seen, Kale said. They came from a world so hostile that survival required them to become apex predators. They never surrendered, never retreated. The casualty ratios were... He trailed off, shaking his head. The Valak lost 10 ships for every human ship they destroyed. Invasion forces lost hundreds of soldiers for every human they killed. And still, the humans fought. Through the barrier, Hana could see faces pressed against the transparent surface. Nari was crying. Other cadets watched with expressions ranging from horror to fascination. They were looking at her like she was a monster. Maybe she was. If my species was exterminated 200 years ago, Hana said slowly, how am I here? That, Kale said, is an excellent question. Someone hid you. Someone powerful enough to fake records, smuggle an escape pod into the outer sectors, and erase your origins from every database. The escape pod, Hana's earliest memory. She had always assumed her parents died in some accident. But what if it was not an accident? What if someone deliberately put her in that pod and sent her away, knowing what would happen if she was found? What happens to me now? She asked. Kale's hand moved to his sidearm. He did not draw it, but the gesture was clear. The Council will send enforcers. They will take you into custody. And then... He did not finish the sentence. He did not have to. You are going to kill me, Hana said. It was not a question. I do not want to, Kyle said, and she believed him. But the law is clear. Humans are extinct. That status must be maintained. So I should not exist, and you will make sure I stop existing. Hana felt anger rising in her chest, hot and fierce. I did not choose to be born. I did not choose to survive. And now you want to kill me for something I had no control over? One of the guards shifted nervously. Sir, the enforcers will be here soon. Maybe we should... Be quiet, Kyle said sharply. He was still watching Hana. Tell me something, Cadet Kim. In your year here, have you ever wanted to hurt anyone? Have you felt urges toward violence that scared you? Hana thought about it honestly. No, I have wanted to win fights. I have wanted to prove myself. But I have never wanted to hurt anyone just to hurt them. You helped Cadet Miso when he fell during the endurance run last month. You shared your rations with Cadet Vera when she forgot hers. You stayed up all night helping Nari study for the tactics exam. Kyle's voice was thoughtful. Those are not the actions of a monster. Then why does the law say I need to die? Because laws are written by people who are afraid, and fear makes people do terrible things. Kale lowered his hand from his weapon. I lost my son to a human soldier during the final battle of Earth. His name was Tay. He was 23 years old. Hana felt her chest tighten. I am sorry. Are you? You did not kill him. You were not even born yet. I am still sorry. For your loss. For your pain. Kyle was quiet for a long moment. A human warrior killed my son. And now a human cadet is apologizing to me for it. The galaxy is stranger than I thought. The alarms finally stopped. The sudden silence was almost worse than the noise. Hana could hear her own heartbeat fast and loud in her ears. The enforcers will be here in less than an hour, Kyle said. I am going to do something that could get me executed. I am going to tell them the archive malfunctioned, that your genetic data was corrupted, that we need more time to verify the results. Why would you lie for me? Because I spent 20 years hating your species. I studied every battle, every engagement, trying to understand the enemy that took my son from me. And what I found, Kale's expression was complicated. I found warriors who fought to protect their families, soldiers who sacrificed themselves to save civilians, people who were terrified and angry and desperate just like us. Your people were not monsters. They were just trying to survive. And you think I deserve the same chance? I think you deserve the truth. And then the choice. Kyle walked to his guards and spoke to them in low voices. They nodded, holstered their weapons, and took up positions by the doors. Kyle returned to Hana. In my private files, I have classified information about Earth and the human species. Information the Council does not want anyone to know. If you want to understand what you are, I will show you. But once you know, you cannot unknow it, and the path forward will be dangerous. Hana thought about the escape pod, about Captain Thos finding her, about Nari's friendship and the academy that gave her a home, about the life she had built from nothing. Show me, she said. Kale nodded. Follow me. And Cadet Kim? When the enforcers arrive, you will need to look surprised when I tell them the system malfunctioned. Can you do that? I have been pretending to be something I am not my whole life, Hana said. I can pretend a little longer. As they walked toward the side exit, Hana glanced back at the barrier. Nari was still there, her hands pressed against the surface. Hana raised one hand in a small wave. A promise that she was okay, that she would explain everything later, if she survived long enough to get the chance. The screens finally went dark, the word Earth disappearing into blackness, but Hana knew it would never truly disappear. It was written in her blood, in every cell of her body, in the very bones that held her upright. She was human. And somehow, she would have to figure out what that meant. The enforcers came and went. Kale told them exactly what he said he would tell them. System malfunction, corrupted data, need for further testing. They left looking annoyed but satisfied. Hana was declared pending genetic verification and allowed to remain at the academy. But everything had changed. Cadets whispered when she walked past. Some looked at her with fear, others with curiosity, a few with outright hostility. The rumor had spread fast. The archive had frozen on Hana Kim. Something was wrong with her, something dangerous. Nari stood by her side, but even Nari did not know the truth. Hana hated lying to her friend, but Kyle was clear. Tell no one. Trust no one. Survive. The private training session started immediately. Every morning before sunrise, Hana met Kale in the restricted training halls. He taught her how to hold back, how to make victories look harder than they were, how to fake exhaustion she did not feel. You need to seem human, he said during one session, then paused. You need to seem normal, not exceptional. The moment you look too strong, questions will be asked. It was harder than Hana expected. Her instincts screamed at her to push harder, run faster, fight stronger. Humans were built to chase prey until it dropped. Stopping before her limits felt wrong, but she learned. 3 months passed faster than Hana wanted them to. The trials of ascension arrived like a storm she could see coming but could not avoid. The first trial was endurance. 200 kilometers through simulated hostile terrain, while carrying full combat gear. Mountains, rivers, extreme temperatures. The course was designed to break cadets physically and mentally. Hana stood at the starting line with 50 other cadets. Jin Park stood to her left, stretching his legs. Sung Lee was somewhere behind her, already sweating from nerves. Nari had been assigned to a different heat and would run later. The horn sounded. They ran. For the first hour, Hana stayed in the middle of the pack. Not too fast, not too slow. Just another cadet struggling through the course. The terrain got rougher. Cadets started falling behind. By the second hour, half the group was walking instead of running. Hana's body felt fine. Her breathing was steady. Her legs wanted to run faster. But she forced herself to slow down, to look tired. At the 15-kilometer mark, a Kravik cadet named Roth collapsed from heat exhaustion. Hana stopped to help him, giving him water from her pack. It cost her 5 minutes, but Kale had told her this was important. Show compassion. Show that you care about others. By the 20th hour, only a dozen cadets were still moving at any real pace. Hana was in third place behind a Torvasi speedrunner and a Velkrin with enhanced stamina mods. She could have passed them easily. Her body was barely tired, but she remembered Kale's words. Be exceptional, not dominant. So she stayed in third place. She finished the course in 9 hours and 12 minutes. The Torvazi won at 8 hours flat. The Velkrin came in second at 8 hours and 45 minutes. Hana crossed the finish line looking exhausted. She collapsed on the ground, breathing hard, selling the performance. Medical staff rushed over to check on her. She let them. Kyle watched from the observation deck. When their eyes met, he gave her the smallest nod. Good enough. The second trial was combat. One-on-one matches in an elimination tournament. Winners advanced. Losers were out. Hana's first match was against a small Ivan female who relied on speed and agility. Hana won by using simple technique and patience. She made it look competitive. The crowd barely noticed her victory. Her second match was against Jin Park. She did not want to hurt her friend, and she could see he did not want to hurt her either. They fought carefully, respectfully. Hana won by a narrow margin. Jin helped her up afterward, smiling despite his loss. "You have gotten better," he said. "So have you," Hana replied honestly. Her third match changed everything. They put her against a Kravik warrior named Vex. He was 9 feet tall with 4 arms and an exoskeleton like natural armor. He outweighed her by at least 300 pounds. The betting pools all favored him. Some thought Hana would not last 30 seconds. The match started. Vex came at her like a freight ship, all power and aggression. Hana dodged. She did not try to block his strikes. She could not. Instead, she moved, slipped around him, stayed out of reach. The crowd started to murmur. This was not how anyone expected the fight to go. Kraviks were incredibly strong, but they tired quickly. Their massive bodies burned through energy fast. Hana just had to wait, just had to survive. 3 minutes in, Vex was still swinging, but his attacks were slower. 5 minutes in, he was breathing hard. 7 minutes in, he was struggling. Hana had barely been touched. She had taken a few glancing blows, but nothing serious, and she was not tired at all. This was what humans did. They outlasted. They endured. They waited for prey to exhaust itself. When Vex threw a wild punch that left him off balance, Hana moved in. She struck at the weak points in his exoskeleton, joints, neck, behind the knees. Quick, precise attacks that would hurt but not permanently injure. Vex went down. The crowd was silent for a moment. Then they erupted. No one had expected the small cadet to defeat a Kravik warrior. Hana helped Vex to his feet, offering her hand in respect. He looked at her with something between confusion and admiration. "You fight strange," he said. "I fight smart," Hana replied. But she saw Kale's expression in the observation deck. Concerned. She had won too decisively. She had made it look too easy. The whispers started again. What is she? How did she do that? What kind of species fights like that? The third trial was strategy. Cadets commanded a simulated fleet in combat scenarios. Most played conservatively, protecting their ships, minimizing losses. Hana played differently. She sacrificed 2 destroyers to create a gap in the enemy formation, then pushed her flagship through for a direct strike on their command ship. It was aggressive, ruthless, very human. She won, but the victory felt wrong. She saw the instructors taking notes, saw them whispering to each other, too willing to accept casualties, too focused on winning at any cost. That night, Kale called her to his office. "You are showing too much," he said bluntly. "The combat trial was acceptable because you used patience and technique. But the strategy trial? You fought like a human, like a species that views sacrifice as a valid tactic. I was trying to win, I know, but you need to win like everyone else wins. Not like a species bred on a death world where survival required constant sacrifice." Kale pulled up footage of her simulation. "Look at this moment. You sent 2 ships to their destruction without hesitation. Other cadets agonize over decisions like that. You made it in seconds, because it was the right tactical choice. And that is exactly the problem. Humans calculate acceptable losses faster than other species, because you evolved in a world where everything had a cost. But to everyone watching, it looks cold, inhuman." The irony was not lost on Hana. "The next trial is survival," Kyle continued. "You will be dropped on an uninhabited moon with minimal supplies. This is where you can show something different. Show that you value life. Show compassion. How? I do not know. But find a way. Because right now the Council is watching you, and they are seeing exactly what they feared. A perfect soldier with no hesitation about acceptable losses. The fourth trial came 1 week later. Hana was dropped on a cold moon with basic supplies and a single objective: survive for 5 days. She landed alone by choice. Other cadets formed groups immediately, but Hana knew they would be afraid to team up with her. Better to go solo than be rejected. The moon was harsh. Thin atmosphere, freezing temperatures at night, predators that hunted in packs. Hana built a shelter on the first day, found water on the second, set traps for food on the third. On day 4, she heard screaming. She found Nari trapped in a ravine, her leg twisted at a wrong angle. A native predator circled above, waiting for easy prey. Hana did not hesitate. She scared off the predator with fire and climbed down to her friend. Nari was crying from pain and fear. "I am here," Hana said gently. "You are going to be okay." She splinted Nari's leg using branches and her own jacket. Then she lifted her friend onto her back and started walking. The extraction point was 6 kilometers away. Hana walked all of it carrying Nari, talking to her to keep her conscious. She knew this would break the rules. Cadets were supposed to survive alone. Helping another cadet was technically cheating, but Hana did not care. Nari was her friend, and friends did not leave each other behind. They reached the extraction point as the sun set on day 4. Medical teams took Nari immediately. Instructors surrounded Hana, ready to disqualify her, but Kale stepped forward. Cadet Kim acted with honor and compassion. Yes, she broke protocol, but she saved a life. That shows character. I recommend we mark her performance and move on. The other instructors looked uncertain, but they deferred to Kyle's judgment. Later, in the medical bay, Nari grabbed Hana's hand. "You carried me 6 kilometers. "How?" Hana smiled. "I am stronger than I look." "No," Nari said seriously. "You are stronger than anyone. And kinder. Whatever the archive said about you, whatever you are, I do not care. You are my friend. That is all that matters." Hana felt tears in her eyes. "Thank you." The 5th and final trial arrived too quickly. Command: lead a mixed species unit through a complex tactical scenario. They gave Hana the worst unit deliberately. Cadets who had failed their... Kale's private office was hidden behind 3 security doors and 2 biometric scanners. The room was small and plain, with a desk, a few chairs, and walls covered in screens. As soon as the door sealed behind them, Kale activated a privacy field. The air shimmered slightly, and Hana felt an odd pressure in her ears. "No one can hear us now," Kale said. "Not the Academy. Not the Council. Not even the archive." He moved to his desk and pulled up files on the main screen. Hana saw images of planets, ships, battle formations, and bodies. So many bodies. "After Tay died, I could not let it go," Kale said, his voice distant. "I needed to understand the species that killed him. The Academy gave me access to classified military records. I spent 2 decades studying humanity. What I learned should have stayed buried." He pulled up a star map, a small yellow sun with several planets orbiting it. The 3rd planet was highlighted in blue. "Earth," Kale said. "Gravity 1.0 standard. 70% water. Atmosphere breathable for most oxygen-based species. At first look, it seems like a Category 3 world. Pleasant, easy. But it was Category 12, Hana said, because the data only tells part of the story." Kale switched to environmental readings. Earth had weather patterns that could kill in minutes. Hurricanes with winds that tore buildings apart. Tornadoes that erased entire settlements. Earthquakes, volcanoes, floods, droughts. And that was just the natural disasters. More images appeared. Animals. Hana saw creatures with huge teeth. Massive claws, venom, horns, beaks designed for killing. Humans were not the apex predator on their world, Kale continued. There were hundreds of species that could kill them easily. Bears that could crush bones with their jaws. Cats that hunted in packs. Snakes with venom that stopped hearts. Even tiny insects that spread diseases. Then how did humans survive? They did not just survive. They thrived. They became the dominant species on their planet. Kale pulled up more data. Humans evolved as persistence hunters. They could not run fast, but they could run for hours, days even. They would chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. No other species on Earth could match their endurance. Hana remembered all the times she had outlasted opponents in combat training, the times she kept going when everyone else needed to rest. Their healing factor was remarkable, Kale said. They could survive injuries that would kill most species. Broken bones healed, torn flesh mended. They adapted to diseases and developed immunity. And their pain tolerance? He shook his head. Humans could function with injuries that would leave other species unconscious. You are describing me, Hana said quietly. I know. Kyle brought up combat footage. This is from the Battle of Proxima Station, one of the last major engagements of the war. The video showed a human warship surrounded by Valak fighters. The ship was already damaged, fires burning across its hull. It should have surrendered. Instead, it turned and accelerated directly into the enemy formation. Hana watched as the human ship crashed into a Valak carrier, destroying them both. But in those final seconds, its weapons kept firing, taking out 3 more ships. That was the UNSC Defiant, Kale said. Crew of 300. They knew they could not win. They knew they were going to die. So they made their deaths count. More footage played. Ground battles. Humans fighting in environments that should have killed them. Toxic atmospheres. Extreme cold. Radiation zones. And still they fought. The Valak expected an easy victory, Kyle said. They outnumbered humans 10,000 to 1. They had superior technology, superior firepower, but they did not understand what they were facing. A new video started. A human female, maybe 30 years old, fighting 3 Valak shock troops in close combat. She was wounded, bleeding from multiple cuts. One arm hung useless at her side. And still she fought. Still she moved. Still she refused to fall. She killed 2 of them before the 3rd one finally brought her down, do you see? Kale asked. Humans did not retreat. They did not surrender. Something in their biology would not allow them to quit. They fought until they won or they died. There was no middle ground. Hana felt cold despite the temperature-controlled office. That is why they were exterminated. Because they would never stop, partially. But there is more. Kyle brought up projection models, complex charts and graphs that Hana barely understood. Galactic intelligence ran simulations. If the war had continued for another century, humans would have won. They adapted too quickly, learned too fast. Every defeat made them stronger, smarter, more dangerous. So the Council decided to kill us all. The vote was not unanimous. Some species argued for containment instead of extermination. But the Valak Dominion had powerful allies. And fear won. Kale's voice was bitter. The official story is that humans started the war, that they attacked Valak colonies without provocation. But I found the real records, buried deep, classified at the highest levels. What did they say? The Valak found Earth first. They thought humans would make good slaves, strong, hardy, able to work in harsh conditions. They sent a diplomatic mission that was really a scouting force. When humans refused to submit, the Valak attacked a colony world as a demonstration of power. Kale pulled up images of a burned planet, cities reduced to ash, millions dead. That colony was called New Beijing. Population 8 million. The Valak killed them all in one day. They broadcast the attack to Earth as a warning. Submit or die. But humans did not submit, Hana said. No, they declared war, and they fought with everything they had. Kale closed the images. Your people were not monsters. They were defending themselves against an enemy that wanted to enslave or destroy them. But the galaxy only saw the threat, only saw the danger, and decided that humans were too risky to let live. Hana sat down in one of the chairs. Her legs suddenly felt weak. I am the last one. The last human. Maybe, or maybe someone else escaped. Maybe there are others in hiding scattered across the galaxy, pretending to be something they are not. And if the Council finds out I exist, they will kill you. Quietly to avoid questions, you will disappear. And no one will ask what happened to the cadet with no homeworld. Kyle moved to stand in front of her. But there is another option. What option? Prove that one human is not a threat. Show the galaxy that humanity deserves a second chance. How? The trials of ascension. 5 tests that push cadets to their species' limits. If you complete them and graduate, the Council will have to acknowledge you publicly. They cannot quietly execute an academy graduate without justifying it. And if you prove yourself worthy, if you show honor and restraint and compassion, maybe you can change their minds. Hana thought about it. But if I do too well, if I dominate the trials, I prove their fears are correct. I prove that humans are too dangerous. Exactly. You need to walk a very thin line. Be exceptional enough to graduate. Be human enough that they cannot deny what you are, but be non-threatening enough that they let you live. That is impossible. Yes, Kyle agreed. But impossible is what humans do best. Hana almost smiled. You sound like you admire us. I respect your people. I hate what they took from me, but I respect what they were. Kyle returned to his desk. The enforcers will be here soon. When they arrive, I will tell them the archive malfunctioned, that we need time to run more tests. They will believe me because I am commandant and because they want to believe me. No one wants to deal with the political chaos of a living human. And then you train. Harder than you have ever trained. The first trial starts in 3 months. You will need to be ready. Will you help me? I will do more than that. I will train you personally. And I will teach you how to hide your true capabilities, how to seem strong without seeming too strong, how to win without dominating. Kale's yellow eyes met hers. But Hana, you need to understand. If you fail, if you reveal too much or threaten the wrong people, I cannot protect you. The Council will do what it did to your species. And this time there will be no escape pods. No survivors, I understand, do you? Because this is not just about you. Every eye in the galaxy will be watching. If you succeed, you might give humanity a future. If you fail, you confirm that humans should have stayed extinct. Hana stood up. She felt the weight of it. The pressure. 200 years of history resting on her shoulders. An entire species judged by the actions of one person. I will not fail, she said. Good. Kale moved to the door. Go back to your quarters. Act normal. Tell your friends you are fine. The enforcers will come, I will send them away, and tomorrow we start your real training. Commandant Kyle, Hana said as he opened the door. Thank you. For not killing me. For giving me a chance. He looked at her for a long moment. Tay would have liked you. He always wanted to meet a human. To understand them beyond the propaganda. He died never getting that chance. Maybe, his voice caught. Maybe this is my way of giving him what he wanted. Even if it is too late, Hana did not know what to say to that. So she simply nodded and left the office. The hallways of the academy felt different now. Every cadet she passed might be a threat. Every instructor might report her. Every camera might be watching for signs that she was too dangerous to live. But when she reached her quarters, Nari was there waiting. The Torvasi threw her arms around Hana, crying into her shoulder. I thought they were going to kill you, Nari sobbed.